Do you have an exam coming up and you sincerely know that you are not studying hard enough or not even studying at all despite your willingness to? Maybe you are just lacking the motivation to study or feeling overwhelmed by the volume of work you have to do. If that's you, I want to tell you that you are not alone. And secondly, there are evidence-based strategies that will help you reduce your resistance and increase your willpower to do what you need to do to be well prepared for your exam. To get started with, I need you to know that energy is a precious but finite resource and we are naturally wired to conserve it. That is the reason why we tend to avoid energy-draining tasks, especially mental tasks, and studying is one of them. So if you can't get yourself to study, it doesn't mean you are lazy. You are just expressing how you are biologically wired to conserve energy. But you know, that is not an excuse to not prepare for your exam and fail. For the next few minutes, I'm going to be explaining 6 steps that will help you not just motivate yourself, but create a system that will help you to study as much as you need to for your exam without feeling wretched. So welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Wealth. I'm a third year medical student of the University of Ibadan. And let's get straight into the video. Step 1 is to make a tangible and realistic plan. If your exam is few days or few weeks away, it is very easy for you to overestimate how much days you have left and procrastinate until the point when you realize, oh, next week is the exam and I have a lot to study. So to avoid this, you should make your plan as tangible and physical as possible. Here's something I always do and it helps me a lot. For example, my exam is next 2 weeks. What I'm going to do is to write out the days from now to next 2 weeks. Today is Sunday. I'm going to write Sunday, Monday, Tuesday till the next 2 weeks. Let's say Friday is my exam. I'm going to also write the list of topics I'm supposed to prepare for during that period of time. When I look at the work I have to do compared to the days I have to do the work, then I can decide how much work I need to do each day. As I keep progressing, you can see if I'm going to finish the planned work within the stipulated time, and if I realize I'm not going to finish it just by looking at the paper I've drawn the plan, I can intensify how much I study, and sometimes I can chill a little bit that okay, I still have enough time. Putting your plan on paper makes it tangible and you tend not to overestimate or underestimate how much time you have left. About making your plan realistic, we have a limited amount of energy we can spend on tasks each day, and we'll get to a point where our brain can't just do more work. I want you to know that putting too much work for each day is going to mostly discourage you. If you have too much overwhelming work for a particular day, that tends to discourage you from even doing anything at all. So what you should do instead is write down your plan, make it tangible, and make a realistic goal for each day. Step 2 is to use temptation bundling. I got this idea from the book Atomic Habits. Before I go deep into temptation bundling, I think I should talk a little bit about motivation. There are 2 things that generally make us to do what we do. One thing is reward and the other is punishment. Most of what we do, we are doing it because we're expecting some sort of reward. Let's take for example, you love playing games. While playing the game, your reward is happiness and the freedom from boredom. On the other end, someone that goes to the gym regularly, one of the reward the person gains is that summer body physique with well chiseled pecs and abs. But there's a difference between the two. One, the reward is instant, and the other, the reward is delayed. But naturally, which of the 2 rewards you tend to gravitate towards? If there is no consequence, everyone would always gravitate towards instant reward. Like, why delay my reward when I can get it now? Now let's go back to the temptation bundling. Temptation bundling is just doing things you have to do together with things you want to do. Let me give you an example to make this make sense. From my plan, I have 6 topics to study today, and I also have a movie that is on my head. I really want to watch this movie. Now, temptation bundling is telling myself, okay, I will only download and watch this movie only when I've studied 3 out of the 6 topics. Because there is a reward for studying those 3 topics, you tend to do them, and after doing them, you get your reward, which is watching the movie. Another way of using temptation bundling is putting what you have to do together with things you definitely have to do. For example, on normal school day, I might be having a practical by 9 a.m. and I definitely have to go for the practical because I don't want to lose the mark. But still, I have something to study, and I'll tell myself I have to read this particular topic before going for the practical. I have just like 1 hour 30 minutes bracket to finish that work, so I'll be able to go to school. It will make me focus within that 1 hour 30 minutes to ensure that I finish the topic. I will remove all distraction and try to finish the topic within that time. In summary, you should always reward yourself for every milestone you achieve. Anytime you study and meet your expectation, you set a goal for yourself and you met it, you should try to reward yourself. You can do things you personally enjoy doing. Take a walk, call a friend, watch a movie, play a game, or finish your monthly allowance to buy the most expensive food to reward yourself for completing the work for that day. Don't do that, else you start for the rest of the month. Step 3 is to use punishment. This seems kind of cruel, but it is another way to make yourself do things that you don't get reward from. One of the reasons why we do them is to avoid the punishments attached to not doing it. One way you can use this punishment effect to make yourself do things is to remind yourself of the consequence of your inaction. For example, it is not like I'm very hardworking or super motivated, but I study most of the time. I study almost every day because I remind myself of the consequence of not studying regularly. I've been there before when my exam is just few days away and I've not studied much for it. I can remember how overwhelming and how stressful that is, and I don't want to ever experience such. That is why I try to, it scares me a lot when my exam is approaching and I realize I've not done anything. That makes me to study all through the semester for my exams. I want you to always remind yourself of how you will feel if the results comes out and you get a score you're not proud of because you did not study as hard as you to. Always remind yourself how you would feel if you fail to gain admission just because you were negligent during the time of studying for your exam. So this is one way to also motivate yourself to do work. Remind yourself of what will happen if you fail to do the work. Step number 4 is to remove distraction. There is a law called the law of least effort, which states that if we have 2 tasks to do, we generally gravitate towards the one that requires the least effort. For example, you have 2 tasks to do, and the first task is watching a very interesting movie, and the second task is reading maybe coronary circulation of the heart. Now let me ask you, which would you rather do if there is no consequence? You go for watching of the movie because it requires little effort. I also want you to know that we do not like to be idle. We do not like boredom. We like to always do something at every point in time. You have social media, you have games, you have movies, you have a lot of friends, and so on. If you remove all of those distractions, you'll be left with nothing else to do than to study. Removing your distraction gives you the time to focus on studying. You don't have to delete all your applications except if you feel you lack discipline, and you can't regulate how much time you spend on those distractions, because distraction is actually good for you. Like a little amount of distraction is good for you to take a break from focused work. But when the distraction is too much, it becomes bad for you. There are ways to regulate the amount of time you spend on social media. There are applications that can limit your time you spend on social media, and you too, you can willingly tell yourself, okay, within this period of time I'm not going to be using social media, I'm not going to be watching movies, or completely remove the distraction between now and when you are going to write your exam. Sometimes I might be studying and really craving to watch a movie. I'll just tell myself, okay, don't worry, after your exam you're going to watch as many movies as you're going to watch. And I think that is something you should also tell yourself. If something distracts you too much, or you can't just do without a particular distraction, just tell yourself, promise yourself, don't worry, after my exam I'm going to do this in the most exaggerated form possible. And after your exam you realize that you even get tired of doing that thing you were craving for. So that's just the point. Remove distraction and you have more time to focus on studying for your exam. Step number 5 is to create a system of least resistance. This simply means removing everything that makes you less likely to study. Try to plan all what you want to study the night before, or before you even sit at your table. Sometimes you'll find yourself sit at your table and look, oh, what am I going to study today, when you have a lot to study. And you eventually not study anything because you are confused. What should I study? But if you've made up your mind the night before that, oh, this morning I'm going to study the limbic system and the viscerals, when you get to your study table, the amount of work that there is to do will not distract you. You're just going to go straight to the work you have to do. Another way to create a system of least resistance is to get spare pen. Make sure your study table is intact, because little thing as not having a biro can be your excuse for not studying. You naturally tend to not want to study before. Now that you have an excuse, you'll be like, I'm not studying because I don't have a pen, or there's no light, so let me go and sleep, Jerry, or let me watch a movie. If you meet a topic that is difficult, or a concept that is super difficult for you to understand, it is okay to just skip it for that time being and go to things you can easily understand. Then take that concept, take it to someone that you know is better than you. You always find people. Take it to your lecturer, or Take it to internet. You will find so many resources on the internet. Doing all this will reduce your resistance and help you study more. Now the last step, which is the most important of all, is you should subscribe to this channel. Yes, I mean that. The last alright, subscribe to the channel because I have a lot more other things for you. This channel is for us to grow as students and learn and all those good stuff. Alright, thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.